And they were like, well, you got to start racing. And underground racing was a huge thing in LA, like Fast and the Furious type. You get a Facebook notification, there's a race on 6th Street Bridge, $5 to enter, winner takes all. You get like 70 people show up. It's live traffic, there's no barriers. A crit race is usually a mile and under in length, and it's a circuit. So there'd be 100 people registered, and we would race around this building for between an hour to an hour and 30 minutes. We would average anywhere between 28 and 32 miles per hour for that full duration, and we can reach speeds up to close to like 45 miles per hour. If I'm really going through it, I just go for a really long ride. And like my version of a long ride is like anywhere between 4 to 6 hours, like on the bike. I just want to spread the love and joy of riding a bicycle with anybody that I can. I am a competitor, and I do want to win, and like I do enjoy winning. But what brings me, if not equal or more joy, is being able to educate and inspire people to just enjoy what they're doing.
Born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, Dante Young has been a professional in the cycling world for nearly a decade. He grew up in a very rough environment, but he stumbled upon cycling through connection with friends, and it changed everything. After years of racing and training, Dante started winning and making a name for himself, drawing inspiration from other inner-city cyclists and eventually joining prolific teams like the Miami Blazers and Legion. Today, he has nearly 300 races under his belt, and his eyes are on the 2028 Olympics. But more importantly, his heart is on elevating the sport so that more kids from underprivileged circumstances have the opportunity to compete, to learn, and to grow in this sport that can literally lift you out of your perceived boundaries. Coming from the environment that you come from, how on earth did you end up cycling in this like whole different universe, really? How does that even happen?
Yeah, man. Honestly, it just really fell into my lap. Like I had a bunch of friends in school, and they just started riding bicycles. Fixed gear riding, which is like single speed riding, was becoming a thing. And especially has one gear on it, you pedal forward, you pedal backwards, just single gear. And everyone was riding them at the time. And obviously I want to hang out with my friends. So I was like, I borrowed a bike from one of my friends, fell in love with it, found one for like $200, and we literally were riding to Venice Beach every day, eating pizza, staring at girls, riding back home. Like that was just the cool thing to do. And then
you're riding to Venice from where?
So at the time there was this bike shop in North Hills. And so I would go to the bike shop in North Hills, and we would take Sepulveda all the way down, ride up and over Sepulveda Pass, ride all the way to Venice Beach. And we would hang out in Venice Beach, eat pizza, hang out at the skate park, whatever. Then we would ride all the way back up and over Sepulveda Pass. And then I would just take, take the train if we were too tired. And that was like our meeting point. And it was like almost every day, all summer long, we'd go downtown, we would go everywhere. So it's like 20 to 40 miles a day that I didn't even realize that I was riding with my friends and eating pizza, ice cream, the whole nine. And then that translated into like discovering that there was bike racing, because one of my friends who introduced me to this, his name is Jericho. And unfortunately, like in a bike, a mass group ride called Critical Mass, which was going through by UCLA. He had a bicycle accident and ended up passing away at that event. So I had wanted to honor him because there was a brand that he loved called Leader Bikes. And I was telling like my friend that owned the bike shop owner at the bike shop in North Hills, like I want to ride for this brand, because at the time riding for brands was like skateboarding. If you can ride your bike really fast in the streets and go down hills really, really fast, like you can get like, sponsorships and stuff like that. And they were like, well, you got to start racing, and underground racing was a huge thing in LA. Like literally like, I feel like Fast and the Furious like type. You get a Facebook notification. There's a race on 6th Street Bridge, $5 to enter, winner takes all. You get like 70 people show up. There's no, it's live traffic. There's no like barriers. Here's the route and this is how you win. So I didn't want to race, but he's like, if you want to get their attention, you got to start racing. So then in 2012, 2013, like I started racing and I was horrible for a while. And
how old were you at the time?
16, just turned 17, which is very late. But again, like I still wasn't thinking to where I am today. I was just thinking about tomorrow. So right. I'm just thinking like, all right, like I'm going to get tomorrow is like get the sponsorship. So I'm going to train and post on social media and like, get their attention. And after a year, I got their attention and I had finished second in this race in Long Beach. And they sent me an email like offering me a contract, which I didn't even read. I just signed it. I was like, I don't even care. I've made it. And then that sparked like literally everything. That from that point on, like my whole life pretty much changed for the next 10 years.
Dang. Well, getting introduced into that part of the life from your friend and then him passing away, like I would imagine that could dissuade you in a way, but you reframed it and really was like, I'm going to do this for him in honor of him or carry on the legacy. Is that kind of your mindset?
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, it was my first time experiencing a death of someone close that wasn't family, which is similar but different. And it was worse because I just saw him the day before. And then the day after, like he was gone kind of thing. And then all the friends that I was riding with at the time, we were all close to him as well. So we were all impacted by his passing. And I just saw an opportunity to like pay homage and pay respect and in the same breath, like do something that I want to do and something that I feel like he would be proud of. And so when I achieved that, I had a moment of being like, I made it, like, this is super dope. Like I'm hyped on this, but then thinking like, dang, like he'd be hyped on this, like I get free bikes, I get to travel a little bit. Like I didn't know what was about to come yet, but just the fact that I can say that I am an athlete of this brand was just, and I get to wear the jersey and ride the bike, which is already really big. And then that sparked the like, okay, well, what else can I do? Because again, it was already, from stepping away from like thinking that, okay, I'm going to play basketball, which is what I thought I was going to do, or stepping away from being like, all right, I'm going to go to college to be a nurse or get my regular degree. It's like, this is such a different path that I can't see what's next, but I'm going to try to like go this direction. And so honestly, like if that didn't happen, I don't even know like if I would have really kept going.
Yeah. Just, I would imagine again, just the environment, South LA, and not seeing really a lot of people doing anything like that, like cycling, like taking it seriously. Mm-hmm. And that exposure, like just having that little bit of exposure, and for you getting outside of your environment, right? Like how valuable was that for you to start to like be able to go around the city, to have like that access, that freedom, whereas so many of us in those conditions, we tend to be defined by those conditions and we don't really see much outside that.
Yeah, I mean, the craziest thing is, when you're a kid, you sit in the back seat and you just go wherever your parents take you. And I thought the beach was a 4-hour drive away. Like Six Flags is mad far, Raging Waters, like all these places are so far. And when I first rode to these places, I'm like, oh, it's really not that far. Like, and the fact that like I got myself here kind of thing. The thing that really changed my mindset, which was I rode to like Bel Air and like Rodeo Drive and Beverly Hills on my bike. So being over on like Slauson and then riding all the way up to like Hollywood and Hollywood to West Hollywood to, Rodeo and Beverly Hills and up into the hills and riding through Bel Air and seeing just like it being in an area that felt like I'm not supposed to be here, but also the fact that my bicycle brought me here, which made me feel like as long as I have this bicycle, like I can go wherever I want. Like I'm like untouchable in a sense, but then open my eyes to like, oh, this place is real, and it makes it feel a little more obtainable because like I came here kind of thing. And that sparked so much because I've ridden all over the city, and I've ridden all over the world and through these two wheels. And so going from a place where I grew up and then going to a place where most of us would think is just like not a real place, or we're not even like allowed to be there kind of thing. And then like walking in there, like head held high, chest out, and be like I'm here and I can be here. And like, I'm probably going to be in that house one day. Like really just opened my eyes to like what's really possible.
Amazing for real. Like that accessibility, the imprint as well, and exposure is super valuable. And like sometimes it can come in the most unexpected ways, because I would imagine when you were a kid, you were not like, this bike is going to take me all over the world, And so it's so cool to see how your progression and how you followed the path. But I'm curious because there's got to be something as well that keeps us doing the thing. And obviously life happens, a lot of challenges happen, a lot of struggle, stress. Is there something about cycling for you that has helped you to like process things? Is this a place for you where you're like, metabolizing stress? And, because for some people it's like going out for a run or, going to the gym. Is it like that for you on the bike?
Yeah, it's funny because usually if I'm really going through it, I just go for a really long ride. And like my version of a long ride is like anywhere between 4 to 6 hours, like on the bike. And there's something about, again, being able to leave the chaos, like LA's, as you know, it's a fast moving place. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of noises, a lot of energy that just could be just a lot. So like my place of solitude is just riding in the Santa Monica Mountains. And I'll ride, I'll suffer, I'll sweat, I'll grind and get to one of the highest peaks up there where it's just quiet, and on that way, I'm going through the motions of like what I'm stressed out about. I'm going through resolutions. I'm going through solutions. I'm going through all the thought processes. Sometimes I'm like talking to myself out loud. I'm just kind of like figuring out what it is. And it helps me so much, and brings me a lot of peace that I can do that. And then when I'm up there, sometimes you just need like a minute, So I'll be up there and I'll look down at like PCH, or I'll look down at like Santa Monica. I can see downtown, so I can see the chaos, and I'm looking at it from a place of like peace and also a place of like beauty. And I'm just like, all right, have a moment, take a break, take a breath, chill for a second. And then when I go back into it, like I'm more focused, I'm more ready to go. And even to this day, like whether I'm racing or not, whether I'm always going to ride the bike because the bike, again, brings me peace. I'm also a creative. I'm also a person that likes to explore. So like riding down a new street or a new neighborhood or a new city and being able to see new cafes or people just like living their lives, reading a newspaper, the kids playing, like all these little things bring me joy. And it's through these, the same two wheels.
Incredible. So I'm curious, like, and again, some of this stuff, a lot of this stuff, we don't have a blueprint for. And so like you accidentally happen upon like being able to zoom out and look at things like, and truly that's one of the greatest gifts, because we think our problems are so solid and it's just like so inflammatory. But like you zoom out and look at the entire city, like how big are your problems? You zoom out and look at the world. And all of these collective problems going on in the world, and it's just like it vanishes. It's so, how big are your problems now? And so just like happen upon these things and adding to that fire, but also adding to your ability to process and metabolize so you can keep going and feel lighter. That's incredible. And I'm wondering, I'm wondering what your family was thinking about this. Like, what's up with Dante and his bike? Like, were they just
Yeah.
on board with that in the beginning?
No, like, so
But talk about your family
yeah.
dynamics too.
So like I grew up with my sister and my grandma. So I have a big family. Like there's on my mom's side, there's 8 of us. So there's 4 boys and 4 girls. But my mom wasn't really around. And so my grandma adopted me and my sister when we were both very young. And then the household was my grandma, my uncle, and my sister. And that was the family dynamic. My dad, I didn't meet until I was like 22. So like it was a small family dynamic, but like I had siblings all over LA, San Diego, whatever, but like a lot of us just didn't really associate. So my grandmother passed when I was 12. And at that time, cycling, I wasn't even cycling, I was skateboarding. I thought I was gonna be a professional skateboarder. And then I saw how big these stairs were, and I'm like, I don't feel like going off that. Like, if I break a bone, like, not for me. But then so when I started cycling, or if I rewind, like from that, like my sister became head of household. She was 21. She just had twins. They're 6 months old. So, and it's my uncle. So she became big boss. And so me and her have a dynamic where she's my sister, but like I respect her like my mom. Like I like know I could like curse in front of her, but like I like hesitate because I'm like, this is kind of like mom right now. But when I started cycling, she thought it was weird, you know, because I'm riding around in tight ass spandex all day. Like I just want to be on my bike all day. And her dynamic was like, you need to be, you know, you need to be in school, you need to get a job, you need to do the you know, the stuff that we're instilled to do once you graduate or are about to graduate, the whole nine. And at the time, it's like she had a moment where she took a step back because I wasn't in jail. I wasn't on the street. I wasn't gangbanging. I wasn't doing drugs, which all those things were in my family and in my environment. And I had every opportunity to do so. And to be frank, I was curious, like about like gang life, you know, and drugs and just like running the streets, you know. But I always loved to be active between skateboarding, mixed martial arts, basketball. Like I always wanted to be active. So when I was riding the bike and she would come see me race and I'm just getting my teeth kicked in every single day. I'm not finishing races or I'm finishing dead last, but I come out the race hype. Like, you can come again next week? And she's just like, bro, you're getting demolished out here. Like, why do you still want to do this? And she had a moment where she's trying to like get me to like step away from it and take other things more seriously. But then she stopped and she's like, well, you're not doing any other things that everyone else in the family has done and everyone else in your environment has done. And you're passionate about it because you're having these horrible experiences, but you keep coming back for more with joy and exhilaration and wanting to continue. So like, she kind of just like took a step back and just kind of let me do what I was doing. And when that happened, like the following year, I went from finishing dead last to finishing mid-pack to getting like top 5 to like third to winning 1 or 2 races. And then I think what really set forward with her is that there was a race in New York called Red Hook Crit. And it was like the biggest fixed gear race in the world. And I had always wanted to do it. And when I signed to Leader Bikes the following year, I re-signed and they were like, we're going to send you to Red Hook in New York. So I had my sister up, I'm like, hey, I got to go to New York. She's like, okay, how are you going to get there? And I was like, oh, well, they're paying for it. And she's like, okay, well, where are you going to stay? I was like, well, they're paying for it. She said, well, what about food? How are you going to eat food? And I was like, they're paying for it. And she's like, okay, well, when do you come back? And I was like, oh, on Monday. It's like a 4-day trip. And she's like, they're paying for everything? And I was like, yeah. And no one in my family really left California. So now I'm going literally the opposite side of the country. And that, I think she was like, this is insane. Like, all right, go. Like, if they're paying for it and you get to travel like for free, go. And then like for me and for her, changed the whole mental aspect. Because when I got to New York and I'm in Times Square and I'm like, oh, it is just like how it is in the movies. Like, this is crazy. Oh, you sound just like the dude from the movie. Like, you have the accent, you know, you like all these little things that I'm like a tourist. And then I'm like, I can't believe like I'm all the way in New York. And I was like, if I can get to New York, like, where else can I go? Like, how much further can this take me? And that curiosity is what drove me for a little bit until things really started to blow up. But just like, how much further can I go? And for her, it's like, you are doing something passionate. I don't know where it's going to take you, but it's obviously taking you somewhere positive. So I'm just going to let you do what you're doing, you know? So.
Wow, man. You know, so many of these success stories where to be 1,000, like a lot of stories are not, they don't turn out like this. They're not successful, you know? And it's like these little steps along the way, even your family dynamics and your sister letting you go, like, you know, and the relationship dynamic that you had with her, and just being able to like qualify yourself each step along the way, and even having her presence, like her showing up at some of those races, just again, thinking you're weird or just like whatever. It's like those add like a little coin to that, you know, piggy bank of like figuring stuff out, you know? And so that's so special, man. But also I'm saying that because it's the balance of something that can also be very isolating.
Yeah.
You know, this particular sport. And, but then there's, at the other side, there's a team dynamic if you're on a team. And so we have you here, and this is like foreign language to a lot of us. So I want to ask you about some of these different things. But before we do, I want to ask you a little bit more about the Vin Diesel aspect of it, like the underground bike scene, because again, that's something that seems foreign to so many of us. I know it was foreign to me until I found out about you. Like I didn't know, because that's like really, that's gangster, like for real. Like you get a text like meet up, $5, winner take all. Like that's incredible. And you get to show up and like you can maybe walk away with $500.
Yeah, like the crazy thing about that was, again, I have such a untraditional entry into the sport of cycling. And compared to like we were talking about earlier, how this kid was getting into the Tour de France era, like my entry into the sport of cycling came from underground racing. And again, underground racing, which I thought, which transitioned straight into the Red Hook crit racing, I thought was like, that was my career path, that just those two as a whole. And it made cycling more approachable and the entry into sport was a lot better because you needed a bicycle. That could be the bicycle that was passed down from your family or like your homie sold to you for like, again, $100. And the bicycles that were needed they're very simple. It was 2 wheels, a crank, a chain, a cog, and some handlebars and a seat, you know? And so they're very cheap. You can get them brand new for $500. And then it was all black and brown people. It was Latinos and blacks and, you know, whites. It didn't really matter. There was the minority was the majority, which was also really nice. So, and they're always at night and the vibes were always good, positive. Like no one was trying to fight each other. No one was gang banging on each other. It was just like, we're here to ride bikes, have some fun. You know, the OGs are maybe like smoking some weed, drinking some beers, watching the kids have fun. And then, yeah, I asked my sister for $20 because I can get me a Chipotle burrito. I can get a ride home if I need to, or put some money on my tap card. And I got $5 to enter. And if I do well, I'm leaving with maybe a few $100s, or I'm leaving with a bunch of cool product that was donated from sponsors that I can sell or whatever, or I'm leaving with just a dope experience that makes me come back for more. So like doing that and doing it all over the city, it was like you look forward to it. And then when I started racing more like in the sense of like the road racing side of it, where I was doing both. So I go do, you know, on Friday night, I go do an underground race in K-Town. And on, Sunday morning, I'm doing a, road race that costs me $60 to enter, that I got from the money that I got from the underground race, and so I could race all weekend long and all over the city. And literally, I talk to people. If I didn't do that, I don't think that I would have like really gotten into the sport, because when I transitioned, I was expecting what I experienced in underground racing to be in traditional racing, and it was very different. And, I think because of that and the people that I was surrounded by, being able to try to implement some of that and bring a little bit more of that, culture into it, definitely helped a lot.
Yeah. This got me thinking, we're going to stay in the Fast and Furious comparison, but like Dom was really like a mentor for a lot of those guys, but in particular with Brian. So again, that succession or that growth, the ability to perform, to figure things out, to deal with obstacles, that mentorship can be, I think it's priceless, really.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I would imagine along this path to, where you are now, you had some mentors along the way.
Yeah.
And people who were teaching you the ropes, like how do you handle certain situations? Because listening to you and learning from you from afar and just kind of spending time in your world, listening to your interviews and just watching some of your stuff, it's like, I never realized that cycling is a contact sport at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so can you talk about the role, like who were mentors for you who kind of maybe took you under their wing and like taught you about how to do this stuff?
Yeah. So like when I started to transition from the fixed gear era to the road cycling era, which most people, if you think of cycling, you think about, a 10-speed bicycle, brakes, gears, the whole nine. When I transferred over, I'm looking for people to look like me. So, and I discovered a handful of people. One was Rasan Bahati, who was basically like our Black Lance Armstrong, and he's still around today, doing a lot in the community. Shawn Smith, and then there was these three brothers, and they were the Williams brothers. It was Justin Williams, CJ Williams, and Corey Williams, oldest to youngest. And Justin and Corey were like two of the best in the country. And they had these cool YouTube videos of them racing. They had these huge GoPros in their head. This is back when GoPro footage was just like not what it is today. So it's super shaky. You get sick watching a YouTube video, but like I was hyped to see one, I'm seeing a perspective in the racing that I like to do, but from a person that I can relate to. I was like, I have to like be around these guys. And so the cool thing about cycling is like, you can't go to the basketball course and expect to see LeBron James or, Josh Hart, whatever, like shooting around. I'm like, yo, can we play a game? But I can go riding on a group ride on a Saturday and I can run into Justin Williams and Corey Williams and be like, hey man, like I've seen your videos, love what you guys do. Like, I love to kind of like, learn from you guys. And they were doing things in the community to do that. They were hosting events and races to help, people that look like them come into the sport, because when they were racing at the height of their careers, it's just a bunch of white people and they're going through things that is making them almost jaded from the sport. And so at the time, there was this team being started called the Concept Teams, like a development team per se. And Justin was one of the founders of that program. And I remember my friend Alonzo was like, hey man, you should come hop on board with this. It could be good for you. You can learn a lot. And when I did that, Justin and I became really close. And Corey and I became really close, and CJ, and pretty much all three of them as a whole taught me so much, especially when it came to the fundamentals of Criterium racing, which is what I do now. And, whether it's keeping your bike clean 24/7, whether it's understanding how to navigate through a group of people, understanding when to, lean into the contact or to avoid the contact, all these little things. And then being able to have these like big brothers at the same time in a group in an area where I can, because it's like I can't relate to anyone here, but I can now relate to people here and then also do the thing as well. So like I think that really helped me lean into wanting to be a bike racer, is because I had that support. And still to this day, you know, like when the races I have this weekend, like they'll be in Boise racing with me or racing against me essentially. But we still talk about racing, and they're still giving me game, and I still, or ask questions and whatnot. And which is nice, because now I take that same initiative to pass down to people with like, hey, like, here's how you can be better, which is also like a really cool thing to be able to do for the future.
For sure. It's like a higher need that we have. It's like to contribute, especially if you get your basic needs met, then you just feel compelled to do that. And it's fulfillment, And this is one of the things too that really stood out for me, researching you and, our introduction is just like the example that you're setting, but also like being proactive at like helping other kids to be able to get into this universe. And it's so powerful because this universe literally can take you, we're not talking about out of the country, out of the city, all this stuff, but like just those 20 miles that you were riding out of your environment and just being in these entire, what would seem like new worlds. And that exposure and how all of that really creates this like patchwork quilt of experiences and insights. And just like really, it's one of the things that our ancestors were well versed with, which is to explore, right? And to test our bounds, especially for kids, but today we are tethered. Everybody's tethered to their device. Yeah. They're not outside playing. They're getting extra superficial exposure to these things. Yeah. And it's creating even more distance, because what the data is indicating is that it can give you a false sense of experience. Yeah. Right. It's so much. I could tell you this from it's so much different to be in the space, to actually be there. And I didn't have that exposure either. Like when I was a kid, it was before MTV Cribs, all that. I'm talking, 2 decades before that. It was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach, right? And it's this British guy, and he's talking about caviar and, the limousines and all this stuff. And it just like, it was so unreal to me and fake. Like, this is not even real. But with being able to like get outside my environment, to get those exposures, to have people who mentor me and, these imprints really helps to elevate everybody as a community, you know? And so I want to ask you about where it's taken you, because again, we have gotten some insight into the beginnings of it, but you mentioned, is it Cretan? What is it?
Crit racing.
Criterium.
Criterium racing.
Criterium racing. So what you see, I don't even know the language. So what is that, and like where are you at in this whole dynamic? Like what are you working on right now?
Yeah. So Criterium racing, or crit racing for short, like basically first within cycling, there's a bunch of different disciplines, right? So the Tour de France, stuff like that, which most people know about, that's road racing, which is basically like a point A to point B, or a really big like circuit, which usually consists of anything between 60 to 150 miles. And a crit race is usually a mile and under in length, and it's a circuit. So let's say this building that we're in right now, if we were to race on the street around this building, there'd be barriers, set up. There'd be 100 people registered, and we would race around this building for between an hour to an hour and 30 minutes. We would average anywhere between 28 and 32 miles per hour for that full duration. And we can reach speeds up to close to like 45 miles per hour. To give it a visual, I would imagine Formula One or MotoGP, if in any way. And Formula One in the sense like everyone's racing into the corner, you take the corners with precision. Everything's very calculated. It's a set amount of laps. First person to cross the line first wins the race. And for bike racing, it's a really cool dynamic because we're in your city for a day and then we go to the next city. So like these races are all over the country. I'll race in LA, I'll race in New York, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Chicago, Georgia, Colorado, Texas, they're everywhere. And the big ones are in places that you probably wouldn't even think about. Like the biggest Criterium race in the country is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is dope for me as well, being Black and going to somewhere that has a lot of history and then wanting to excel even more because of that history. But we race in front of 20 or 30,000 people, and you get some of the best Criterium races from all over the world: Germany, the UK, New Zealand, Australia, and then the best in the country. And winning a race there pretty much just sets you up, it's as solidifies you as one of the best. So we do that everywhere, and I've even done some, in Italy. I've done some in Spain. I've done some in London as well. So it's a really cool dynamic as well for a spectator, because normally they have vendors, they have beer gardens. It's it'll be on a strip right here where the bars and maybe the restaurants are also still open. So you can be inside eating and watching the race, or you can go get some food and come outside. They'll have intermissions where they'll have kids racing, or you can bring the kids and they can have be able to ride the course and enjoy and so forth. So it's a pretty special kind of race that everyone can grasp, and everyone that I've brought to a race, whether they know what's going on or not, has always loved it. And they've never been it's boring, or it's this, is that. Everyone loves it. And then the more you understand it, the more they're actually intrigued by it. And they're okay, go. I understand what's happening. I get it. When's the next one? Which is, why I'm always trying to advocate for it, and also try to, bring more notoriety to it, because it is a sport, or it is a discipline that a lot of people can really rally behind.
Amazing. So I want to ask you about this, because you mentioned that you're creative earlier, and you obviously are in so many different ways. But even in the domain of cycling itself, it's very creative endeavor that we might not think about, because you think, again, it's point A to point B, or a race. And when I heard you talk about this, it made me realize just how all athletic endeavors really are complete creative, unless somebody is just very robotic in their head, learning how to do dance steps kind of thing. It's so much about reaction. It's so much about, dealing with the moment, the microsecond, and constantly making adaptations and being creative. Talk about that relationship with creativity and athletics.
Yeah, it's actually very true, because there's a common misconception with Criterium racing that it is just the stronger you are, the better you are kind of thing. But in reality, it is a sport of skill and creativity as a sense. So the more you can focus on the fundamentals of Criterium racing, whether that is being hyper aware of your surrounding, understanding the flow and how momentum works, understanding how to shift your weight, how to engage in contact, how to read a race, all these different things in a fraction of a second, to the point where I feel That's So Raven sometimes, where I can see something happening before it's going to happen. And these two are going to crash into this corner. I'm going to go over here because I don't want to be any part of that. And I go around it and there's a huge crash, but there's also a sense of calmness into it. And I think because my mind is always normally working very quickly, that when I am racing, everything slows down. It's like driving on a freeway and everybody's driving 80. So it looks like everyone's going real slow. But in reality, we're all going pretty fast. And it allows me to really pay very close attention to detail to things. But then when I make a mistake, I can also go back in my mind to that moment and like, what did I do wrong? And how can I fix that? 'Cause it's going to happen again. Maybe not tomorrow, but it might happen in a month. And then I'll overanalyze what I did and how I can fix it. And then when I do that, I'm able to, when it happens again, like, oh, I've been in this situation before. So like, this is what I got to do. And maybe that fixes it and I get through it, or it only fixes part of it and I got to go back and do it again. But in the same breath, like that has also allowed me to be able to apply that same mentality to pretty much anything. Because I'm like, if I can suffer through literally an hour of pain, or some of the races I've done have been again 6.5 hours of pain, and get through this and figure it out, then I can literally figure anything out that comes my way.
Yeah. One of the reasons that we marvel at athletes is that expression of creativity, but I don't think we think about it. We're just like, just watching greatness, but it's such a creative endeavor. And it's like this combination, because also with sport too, especially professional sports, we put so much on the strategy. And that's why fans really get mad at coaches a lot too. Just like, I even know what to do, but the strategy piece, but within that, the ability to I think wisdom is a part of it too, which is like seeing things from multiple perspectives. If there's a tactical way to look at it. And like you just said, that's such a great analogy with the Dassault Raven, and just being able to see these patterns, pattern recognition and reactivity, and all of this stuff is happening just like at this incredible pace.
Yeah.
And so, this is a reason why I think it's so valuable, no matter what age people are at, to engage in some kind of sport,
It's funny because I do it, and I do it to a pretty high level, I get it. So when I watch basketball, football, soccer, like I understand what they're going through, and I understand that it's more than just putting the ball in the net, or it's more than just touchdown. Like, I know that there's so much more, and I usually like to go down these little like rabbit holes of like understanding the like, the really what goes the 1% of it, like where it's like with football, like understanding, the rotation of the ball, or understanding that if we are in a dome or in an open, field, like how the air can change the length or the how far the ball can be thrown, or the turf, stuff like that, or like basketball, like playing in Denver versus playing in LA, like that has a huge impact on your release because the air is thinner, and also your being able to breathe, like all these little things that, or like the impact on how you move. So because I like understand all these little things, and I'm watching NBA Finals Game 7, and I'm seeing everything happening, and obviously I have moments where I'm like, oh, like this guy, like he doesn't know what he's doing, but I also take a moment to be like, it's Game 7, you're 100 games in, there's so many pieces that you're focused on, like this guy's closing out here, this guy's doing that, whatever, like I gotta shoot, maybe I'm a little tired, maybe like you make a last minute decision while mid shot, like all these little things that you're focused on. I get how hard it is, and I agree. I feel like people should play sports, because you don't even need to play at a elite level to understand that it's much more than put the ball in the hoop, score the goal, get the touchdown, like which you want it to be that simple. But then in reality, you realize that there's so much more to go into it. And then you have like, okay, I get it. I respect. Prime example, Formula One. They think it's just driving a car. I could take 10 minutes off my ETA. Like, I know I can drive a Formula One car. But then like they put people in these cars with them, and they realize that these guys are actual athletes. They're pulling 5-6 Gs of force into a turn, which no one even knows what 5-6 Gs feels like. You pull a quarter of a G when you take off into a plane. So like, and then being able to make in a decision at a fraction of a second at 200 miles per hour, and then to train that, like, I get that, you know. I know I can't do it, but I definitely have a respect for it. And I think because, you know, being in sports.
Yeah. Obviously, there's like an emergence of, you know, people playing pickleball. And, you know, also, I think life finds a way. You know, we've been so separate and like disconnected. And again, people being tethered to their devices, you know, and AI is here big time now. So with life finding a way, and of course, there's infinite options in this infinite universe. But my wisdom is saying and pointing to, we're going to kind of swing to more connection. Like, it's going to be even more valuable. And AI can either automate everything and you don't do shit, you just get more into the matrix, or it's going to free up time to be more human than you've ever been, right? And so connecting, playing, competing, and those kind of things, like, it's embedded in our DNA. Like, this is even how, you know, kids even learn, is through play. And the crazy thing is, like, we never stop learning, right? And so, like, utilizing play is so valuable. And some of the most intelligent, their incredible health span, you know, their cognition. These are, I know people in their 70s and 80s who regularly play, like ultimate frisbee, or like they're finding something for that because they found out along the way, like, it just makes life better.
Yeah. And I know that I'm always going to want to do something. Like, I can't ever really sit still. So, like, I know that I'm either always going to ride a bike, or I'm going to do something that is active and also stimulating my mind. You know, like, I've literally just started, like, swinging a golf club because I'm just like, I know how hard it is from an outside perspective. And when I first took a swing, I was like, okay, this is really hard, but that makes me want to lean more into it because I know there's so much more that goes into it. You know, I picked up running, again, something that's very hard. And it's these small little things that if you tweak, it can make you so much more better, which is also, like, huge into cycling. You know, if I'm running, if I don't land on my heel, but land like this, like, my stride's better. I can run a little bit further. If I rotate the golf club like this versus being like this, and, like, you know, stay square, like, that makes it your swing 10 times better. And it's stimulating my mind, but also, like, the fact that I'm outside, I'm in nature, I feel the breeze in my head, I'm sweating, like, all these things. Like, there is a value in being just active and outside. And I'm like, you know, as we were talking about earlier, like, I try to tell my nieces and nephews, like, just go do something. Like I don't mind you if you're on your phone, great, but go be on your phone, like, and walk down the street. And I guarantee you at some point you're going to put your phone down because you're going to be like, oh, like, I didn't know there's a chicken spot right here. Like, let me pop inside this chicken spot real quick. Or, like, maybe you run into an old friend. Now y'all are talking and you guys go get a coffee, you know? So, like, being outside, will force us to, like, kind of just, like, be in the moment, which I really hope we don't ever lose because it's like an important quality.
Yeah. I was actually about to bring up golf because last night I was having dinner with some people, and then the subject of golf came up, and then they just kind of got, like, a little higher up in their chairs about the subject, you know. And then you see a lot of athletes that, you know, have found success in other sports transitioning. Like, LeBron is heavy into golf now. You know, I just saw the video, he's making fun of Kevin Hart, like, he found a little golf club or whatever. And all of these guys are, like, you know, finding this competition and physical expression and being outside and being amongst your friends and your colleagues. And, you know, there's so many different iterations of what that can look like.
Yeah.
But the most important thing, and what I'm getting from you too, is just getting outside your door.
Yeah. And, like, I think golf is pretty unique because, like, I see everyone does it. And I think it's, if I can, like, think about it, like, as an athlete, you want to do something that is challenging but different, but isn't going to be so strenuous on the body, you know, in the sense, like, you know, swinging a golf club and rotating, you know, extra hard or whatever, like, you may become a little sore, but you're not going to, like, it's like going skateboarding with your friends or whatever the case may be. And it's also, as an elite athlete where every minor little detail is important and you are a peer in your craft, when you start golf, you come all the way down to ground level. So now you're humbled because you're not good at it. And you're trying to find these little 0.5%, 1% of things that's going to make you a little bit better, because that's how you operate in your craft. So you're taking the fundamentals of how you've learned into a different sport that you can now learn something new at. And at the same time, like, you can hang out with your boys who also understand, or maybe you have a friend that doesn't play basketball, but he's better than you and you're a competitor. So now you're trying to like beat this guy. So I get it, you know what I'm saying? And like, that's why from now, like, now I'm looking at golf clubs and I'm left-handed. So I got to find left-handed golf clubs, and that's a whole other thing, and then just trying to like learn these little things that I can do where I can go for a long bike ride, on Saturday. And afterwards, maybe I can just go to the range and just like hit some balls and then decompress for a little bit and just learn and then do it all over again.
Yeah. It's a really interesting time right now, especially just kind of like what's swirling around you in your life. Here in LA, like, we got World Cup going right now. We got the All-Star game just happened. We got the Olympics coming up here as well in your backyard. Yeah. So talk about what's going on with you as far as eyeing the Olympics.
Like, it's when I first heard about it, it was definitely something that has been on my mind of trying to obtain. Like, it's so much harder as an American to make the Olympics, and especially in cycling. We have a lot of guys that compete in the Tour de France, and like a lot of those guys, especially on the road, are pretty much solidified for Olympic selections. But then we also have, again, we talk about there's so many disciplines. We have indoor track cycling, which is like, it's like an indoor wooden track that's banked at like 45 degrees. It's about 200 to sometimes 400 meters in length. And it's raced on the same kind of bikes that I started racing on, but these bikes cost like $20,000, $30,000. And because it's indoor and it's a controlled environment, they race at speeds. They can average speeds of like 35 miles per hour, and they're hitting speeds of like 47 miles per hour sometimes. Like, it's pretty insane. So if I were to I would love to like compete in the Olympics, and I would love to like go down this journey. It's only going to happen once or a handful of times to even get that opportunity. And it was something that I was like exploring, which kind of like was starting to come toward a little bit more of a dead end. But it's also like I have such a different perspective on like what really is bringing me value in my life through sport. And I feel like where I'm at, like, people are trying to excel at their sport, be the absolute best that they can possibly be, and I think for a while I was like that. Like, I want to be the best Criterium racer. I want to do the Tour de France. I want to be an Olympian. I want to be this. But I feel like what really is important to me is like the value that I can add to others, in a sense of maybe creating a path or an avenue that can allow others to either achieve that and then some, or, instilling some knowledge into people that, again, can create, again, a path and then some. Like, what brings me full fulfillment isn't being the absolute best bike racer in the world, which is like weird to say because I am a competitor and I do want to win, and I do enjoy winning. But what brings me, if not equal or more joy, is being able to educate and inspire people to just like enjoy what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So like, I meet people. I was at a practice race last night in El Dorado Park, and this kid was asking me, "Hey man, like, I'm a category 5, which is like a beginner category. It's from 5 to 1, which is how we rank it." And he's like, "How can I be a better sprinter? Like, what would be your tips? Or like, well, what should I do today in this race?" And I like light up like, all right, so boom, like try this, like focus on this, you know, like you're a beginner, try a new thing. Like I'm just giving him all this free game and he's hyped on it. And then as he leaves and I'm sitting in my car getting dressed, I'm like, I'm in such a good mood now because like that is either going to help this kid or it's going to go in one ear and out the other. But like the chances of it helping him and like maybe he does better today, but then he goes better the next day. And maybe that game I gave him, he gets somebody else and it creates this like domino effect. Like that brings me so much joy. And I know people that are going to be competing in the Olympics, or gunning for the Olympics in the road race, and track and field and in velodrome stuff. And like, at the end of the day, like, I'm just hyped that we have it back in our backyard because the track that I started racing on is an outdoor track and actually here in Encino. And it's not that far from here. And it was in the 84 Olympics. That was the track that they raced on. So like to even just be able to be in the city and be alive and be able to be like, I was at the Olympics in, 2028, when it's 2060 and talk about that experience is like, to me, that's, and then be able to watch the competition and see like my friends and stuff competing and stuff like that. Like to me, that has the utmost value to me right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, for me too, even hearing your story and your perspective on this, it's the striving, it's having that thing and just continuing to qualify yourself.
Yeah.
Because you never know really where it's going to land you.
Yeah. Where I see value in like richness and wealth in life is like very different from, I feel like, we talked about how people like on their phones and they're feeling this false sense of like, reality and what's, what it means to be wealthy and rich and fulfilled, whether that's the cars and the girls and the money and the whatever and instant gratification of like you can be a TikTok star tomorrow morning and all that stuff. And it's like, I find that like I get to travel, I get to meet new people. I have met some people I never thought I'd meet in my life. Like my family's healthy, like I'm healthy, and I get to do what I do every day as a job, and my bills are paid. I get to buy shirts from Zara. Like to me, like that's genuinely like all that I need, and I also try to like let people know that like this other stuff is not real, like yes, if we all had $1 billion, like yeah, of course we're probably going to go spend some money and whatever, but like I've made a decent amount of money and I've been in the cars and I've had the designer stuff, and it's like it's not that big of a deal. Like it's all very material. And I think because again, where I grew up and just having fun with what you got and the places I've been to, whether you just make do with what you have, like, and I understand you don't know any better than what they have, like in Africa and stuff, which is a whole nother topic. But like, you really find that you don't need much, and being outside and being in the moment and the reality of what's real, like if you can do what you love to do every single day, like if you love this podcast and it just brings you joy, like to me, you're richer than anyone that has $1 million and lives in the hills and drives a Ferrari. And like, that's kind of like how I operate and like how I see everything. I think because of that, like, I feel like I'm so much more happy. I'm much happier than my peers sometimes because they're stressed that they don't have $1 billion yet. And I'm like, I don't have $1 million either, but I'm great. Like life is good, and like don't lose sight of what's right here in front of you, like because life goes on real quick and you're gonna be like, oh, I didn't realize that my niece was walking, or I didn't realize that, like I missed out on family this time over here, or that like I had this over here, and then you can't get that stuff back.
Yeah. 2 wheels can take you far physically, obviously, but also clearly can take you far mentally.
Yeah.
and emotionally, spiritually even. So, man, I'm sure one wheel could too. So shout out to the unicycle
Hey,
riders.
I've seen some people that be doing the unicycle stuff, and I see in them is be like, you doing that? Like, I'm not gonna do it. Like, hats off to you. But yeah, it's so mental. Cycling is so mental, and I've gone through some prime example. Like a buddy of mine, Rye Benjamin. He's a track and field. Last cycle, won 2 Olympic gold medals. Fell in love with cycling, and I took him on this bike ride, and it happened to start raining. I ride in the rain, and it was a big group. We're all like, it's fine, we'll ride in the rain. And it was probably a 2, maybe 3 hour bike ride. He shows up, we go for a ride. We're riding up the Hollywood Hills, and he is going through it. Like, he's kind of bonking, which means like he ran out of food. He's going through it. It's very steep climbs. I'm pushing him. I'm giving him food, all these little things. And he told me, like, bro, I was going through it. Like, mentally, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And he's like, you're just sitting there, like, you're just chilling. You're like, you're not even fazed by it. You're offering me food. You're giving me this, give me that. And you're just like, this is another day. And he's like, it changed. It really, like, he needed that, that like humbling, that like bring back to ground zero, and that mental stability of like, to go that extra mile, to get there, because he's up here in his craft, and that was before the Olympics. And I think it was earlier that year. And he goes on that year to win every 400 meter hurdle event that he entered, and then won his Olympic gold medals in the 400 meter. And like, not to say that it was all because of me, but just like understanding that, yeah, cycling is like, I've done races and I've cried on the bike. I've gone through just such, mental, just, I'm in so much pain. I want to stop, but some reason your legs are still kind of just going through it. And I genuinely feel like it's made me so much more mentally stronger in every sense of my life. Like, nothing can be harder and more painful than what I've endured on the bike at this time. And I kind of just deal with that. I'm like, all right, this is it. Like, cars broke down, like, this sponsorship fell through, or like, this is going on. It's all right. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, it's not that bad. Like, and I don't think I would really, again, have that without those 2 wheels.
Amazing, man. Well, you've helped so many people yourself, and the inspiration, the exposure. How can we help you? What can we do to support you, follow you? Let us know.
I mean, honestly, like, that's a really good question. It's funny because I don't ever really think about that. I think about like how I can help everybody else. And I feel like just, that's a great question. I don't know, man. Like, my goal in life right now is, I'm still traveling and racing. I'm focused on creating really cool content projects through my partners that I have. It can be a way of telling stories through my craft, and then allow myself to still be, creative, whether that's through cool activations that I can do with the community, any community per se, but also just be able to like travel all over and be able to show people that like cycling is fun. Like, you don't need to be a professional cyclist. You don't need to ride up these mountains that I do, but like, just ride a bicycle. Like, we've all ridden bikes as a kid. I remember riding a BMX bike and putting cans and taping it to the back so it's in the spokes and it sounds like a motorcycle, and making neighbors real mad. I'm doing this 8 o'clock at night, just like being outside, and then being able to also like tie in more things that makes cycling more appealing, like fashion, something I'm passionate about, like looking nice, and tying it into the sport of riding a bicycle, and athleisure. Like, there's so many things that I try to just incorporate into cycling, because I genuinely think cycling is one of the coolest sports that is somehow underrated, and yet everybody does it. But I just want to spread the love and joy of riding a bicycle with anybody that I can and everybody. So if if we can amplify that and can be able to get to connect to more people to ride a bicycle, that would be really cool. And I think in the future, like I really want to like just be able to have like a day, back in the day we had go skateboard day, which is still around, but just have like a day where it's just like, we can have a huge cookout, huge party, and like everyone can just bring their bikes and we can, have a cool, like maybe escorted ride that is around the city with hundreds, if not thousands of people just like riding bikes and connecting. There's no hierarchy. There's no I'm better than you. We're not trying to race each other. We're just here to ride bikes, have fun, let the kids be around, bring your grandpa and grandma and put them on two wheels. It's been years, and just connect. And if I can do that, then I'm a happy camper, man. I'm good.
I love it. So where can we follow your journey? Like, you got Instagram?
I'm on Instagram. It's Dante Young __. I have YouTube that I'm trying to like work out as well, and bring more content towards. And those are my two main platforms, and like, where people can find me all over. So like I usually let people know if I'm going to be in their city, because like I'm at a race, like just come up, talk to me. Like I'm the kind of person that just loves to connect in any way. I'm a big coffee head, so I'm always looking for the dope coffee spots in every city that I'm at. Heading to Boise this next week, or this weekend, and then I race Manhattan Beach, and then I might be heading to France in 2 weeks for the last week of the Tour de France as well. So like, I try to let people know, and that way I can just stay in the loop and hopefully meet people in real time,
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man.
Hey, man, because it's like, I love social media, but I'm also about like just real connections, interaction. Real social, where like you walk into a coffee shop and you meet, you interact, and you exchange information, or you just have a moment in time of connection, and then that might just make your day, and that way you can go do something else and whatnot. So like, I'm always big, like if you see me on the road, or you see me riding my bike, or post at a coffee shop or wherever I am at, just, say what's up. Like we can have a little chat, talk about life, talk about bikes, or how good the coffee is, and then go on about our day.
Awesome. I want some coffee now.
Hey brother, I got a list. You let me know what city you are, if it's West Side, if it's in downtown, if it's in Pasadena. I know all the coffee shops.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you, man. We'll put the socials in the show notes for everybody. Check out the one and only Dante Young, everybody. Hey, if you like this video, make sure to check out this video right here.
If I got an extra 6 inches of mobility from simply inducing an emotional state by using gratitude, by simply understanding the definition differently and allowing myself to feel it, what would that do to a javelin throw? And I thought, oh my God, we don't teach people to understand emotions properly.